Welcome, Internet, back to Crash Test Gaming. We are taking another look at the closed beta of Arms Tycoon tanks, and we are joining the Masters of Death in their playthrough for Great Britain, and it's 1914. We've developed the Mark 1 tank, and aside from having a fantastic naming scheme, we have applied for a contract with Great Britain to supply them with 20 of our machines of death, and that's worth 50,000 a pop, so it's a large chunk of revenue. We're waiting to hear back on whether we successfully got this contract. We're up against the Hector, which we beat with our bid, but it remains to be seen whether the bid was accepted. And seeing as we have no choice, we've gone ahead and started producing those 20 tanks. We've got 5 completed at the moment. We'll probably need to order in some more materials. So North America is a fairly cheap place to get it from, even though it takes a month for these supplies to arrive. We'll try and order a big chunk of supplies, 132,000 worth. We've got 500 grand in the bank, so we'll sign an order, get that delivery on its way, and we shall fast forward some time until 10 more days until we need to manufacture some more tanks. We've got France and Germany having a trade agreement, so they could end up being allies, and the contract has been accepted, so now we just need the 20 tanks, and we've got 10 of them completed. We go back to the production hall. We've got 240 workers. We could hire up to 400 with our current buildings, but I think for this initial order we should be right in just paying these guys. We don't have a great deal of money, so we don't want to pay them to sit around and do nothing. Take 23 days until it's ready, so we'll be able to ship off this order next month, and we should still have enough money to make it that far. We've got 21 days till more supplies arrive. We are starting to get low on supplies, and 23 days until those tanks are finished, 15 days for research. So we will just move forward with time. Right, and we've got some news. The French are developing a tank with a 75mm gun, so that's pretty massive. I think our 6-pounders would be 57mm, if my memory serves. So that's quite a jump up from what we've got. I do believe historically they did manage to make this. It was called the Saint-Chamond or something along those lines. I wouldn't quote me on that. And it was the biggest gun on a tank until mid-World War II. So there's a bit of history as we play the game, which is of interest. Now we need to update our research, so we're going to go to bolted assembly, which we shall finish before we start designing our next set of tanks. So that's going to take 38 days, which is quite a while. We should have our contract finished by then, which just has another 8 days to go for us to manufacture the tanks. The delivery of goods has arrived. So if we go to the warehouse, we're on our last 160 grand, so we want to get these tanks delivered. I'm hoping that we get paid when the tanks are delivered rather than the end of the contract. So if we send them by this medium delivery, we want to deliver all 20 at once. You can send them piecemeal. There is a fine for each tank that we don't deliver in the contract. So if we delivered only 15, if we produce 15 on time, it's going to take 8 days for them to arrive, and there's a possible delay of 7, or we can go for Weckerton and Sons. So that's a delay of 7 delivery speed of 12, so it'll still get delivered in November. November the 19th they'll receive those supplies on. So I think we're safe enough to go with that's a fairly cheap option. We could go for the low reliability option, but I think that might be a mistake. We shall sign that away. Thankfully, none of our tanks get destroyed like they did in the previous demo when you send them off. But it'll be interesting if there's a world war or something, whether there is convoy sinkings and differences between how you send the tanks to the customer. Okay, Britain and Germany non-aggression pact. So World War I looks as though it's not actually going to happen at all, and Britain is upgrading its infantry, giving them a jam tin bundle, which I believe is a makeshift grenade or explosive. And the Italians doing the same. What we really need is we need another contract, so we've got something to make now that this contract is completed. So we get £1 million for completing that contract, and now it's just a matter of waiting for our research to complete, so we can go to the engineering and start redesigning our tank and maybe a Whippet tank for the second generation. Demolition charges are being provided to the German infantry, so Europe is arming up, that's for sure. And as you develop tanks, the rest of the armed forces will continue to improve as well. So bolted assembly is researched, so we might now research the female tank and get some machine guns researched after that, and we might start designing an upgraded tank. And we also need to get some low tracks for the Whippet. If we go to engineering, we want to make a Mark 1 Mark 2 but made out of steel instead of iron, so it'll be a lot stronger, it'll be heavier. We'll go to that. Steel, nuts and bolts will give us a bit more room, give us more repairability. It won't be as strong structurally as the riveted, but with nuts and bolts it will be stronger. We can now put ammo in the tank, which will be pretty handy come a fight, and we can increase the range with more fuel, and we've got a few extra bits and pieces we can throw on that came with the Whippet research. So we shall get designing the Mark 1 Mark 2, and that's going to take our engineers 12 days. So after that we'll need to design some sponsons, which the female sponsons research will be done in 18 days. So we will do that next, and then we'll put together the Mark 1 Mark 2 tank. And we'll continue with some historical information that Major Swinton wanted to build bulletproof caterpillars to destroy enemy machine gun boxes in the trench line. Because historically tanks didn't enter the battlefield to 1917, and the western front of the war was an absolute mess of just trenches in France, and the tanks came along to try and break that stalemate. So we've got 6 more days on the research as we complete that design. I probably could have used that time to build a Whippet, but we'll go for the sponsons. So we want to build that out of steel, make it just as tough, build it out of bolts, and we now have a better turret door, slightly lighter, and a better turret hatch, which again slightly lighter. That'll take 5 days to design. Then when that's designed, we'll be able to look at building a new tank. We'll go on to firepower and get a machine gun, so when we design some female sponsons, we can make a infantry fighting vehicle. We shall research the Hotchkiss machine gun, which should be a fair upgrade to what we currently have in the Lewis guns. And we will get time moving. The French have given grenades or petards to their infantry. The male sponson is ready, so we can go to tank design, and we shall create a... We can get rid of the Mark 1, Mark 1. Oh no, don't tell me we just designed the Mark 1, Mark 1 and I've just deleted it. Oh, I am an egg. No, not reverse engineering. Go back to engineering. No, don't save. So I've got the Mark 1, Mark 2 there with 368 points and... Oh, yep, that's draft. So I've just clicked the wrong button there. That's unfortunate. So this is now going to be another 12 days until we can build a tank, which will give us time for the machine gun upgrade to come through. And we might even get some more HE ammo. So we'll go back to research and go to firepower. We'll pick up the HE round because that can be put straight on a tank. That'll take 16 days. And so we still haven't received a second contract. So our money is dropping and dropping. We've got a new administrator that has arrived. We'll see who he is. These bonuses that the administrators get are quite substantial by... so 25% power unit focus, 25% running gear focus. We're going to make tracks soon for the Whippet, so that will be handy to have. We shall hire him. He'll get here in 5 days, and we'll keep time passing by. I'd feel a lot safer if we could get a bit of money in the bank, or a few contracts. They seem to be few and far between at the moment. So there's not much idea in having a strong production hall and engineering bureau towards the start of the game, it would appear, because everything waits on research. So we will go to design. We've got improved common rounds. So what shall we look at next? We might continue on firepower, and it should take less crew to operate a slightly smaller gun, so the light naval gun might be an interesting proposition. We'll take a look at that. That's 38 days away. And we shall build a Mark 1, Mark 2. So, need engine, tracks. We'll give it a cannons and 6-pounders and the new Hotchkiss machine gun. Crew should be about the same. Commander, driver, couple of gunners, a couple of loaders, mechanic and a half. As you can see, we've got plenty of volume in the tank. The crew and the mass limit are both on yellow, so we've got a number of defects, but not as bad as our original designs. So we'll go up to the expendables. We now have a lot more options in terms of ammo. In our third spot, we can't put duplicates, so we'll have some of the weaker HE. As backup, we want as much ammo as possible for combat. Getting some petrol, throw on some camouflage, and 23 days that'll take us to design the Mark 1 Mark 2, which will be made out of steel instead of iron, making it hopefully a superior tank. And the war has begun, so we are now at war. On the 19th of January 1915, the perfidious Danes were declared war on by Britain. The Denmark forces and Britain forces are rapidly approaching each other. Make sure to follow the development of the campaign and corresponding battles if your tanks are participating. Well, the British have some tanks, so hopefully they'll throw them into battle. They've only got one regiment, and it doesn't look like they've sent the 8th Queen's Lancers and the 5th Guildford Division. So that's infantry and cavalry. So we can see that the infantry has the jam tin bundle for the UK, and there are no battles as of yet. So there we can see Britain has made landings in Denmark. So no World War One, but we do have the War of British Aggression, where they have decided to seek revenge for the Danish support of the Vikings in 7050 AD, I guess, for Lindisfarne. Who knows? Well, anyway, the British and Danes are at war. There's no tanks involved, so it doesn't involve us too much. Unfortunate that. So we would have hoped that the British could have sent their tanks, and they'll either do very well, in which case we might sell more of them, or get blown up, in which case we'd need to give the British more of them. And Norway's decided to upgrade its infantry with new equipment. And contract number 2 from Germany, just as we are completing our second design, so that's handy. Germany wants 20 tanks, so it looks like we're selling to everybody. Not at all that Britain and Germany would end up in a war with each other. It's not like our tanks will fight each other. They very much could be fighting each other. So our competition is the A7V, and they want an assault tank with what looks like a lot of protection. I don't think our tanks can... No, even our new Mark 1 Mark 2 that's made out of steel is nowhere near as strong as what the Germans want. So we can reduce the price. The competitor's offer is a lot better than ours with the A7V. So we will have to reduce the price quite a bit if we want to make some sales here. So we need to get the score up to 315 will make us competitive. So it's only 38,000 per tank. And if we build 20 of the Mark IIs, we will have until April, which seems fair enough. So we're not going to make a huge amount of cash on that. Well, I mean, we'll still make decent cash. We'll make about 20,000 per tank. So 20 tanks at 20,000. We'll make about 400,000 profit, which is better than nothing, but that's enough to run our factory for 4 months, and the contracts aren't coming in every 4 months. So I mean, we'll put in for the contract, but I'm not entirely confident that that's a good deal for us. And we shall get our tank designed and onto the production line. We're going to need to get a whole lot more materials in from North America. So you've really got to keep on top of that. I've let that slide a bit. I mean, that's going to take a month. So we might see if there's something we can build in the warehouse so we can get these quicker. We've got unloading speed stations. This will do the trick. 25% reduction in supply time focus, 30,000 to build it. We can afford that at the moment. It's going to cost us 5,000 a month to shave that extra week off deliveries from North America, but I think in the long term the cheaper prices will pay for it quite handily. And we don't have enough engineers to design while we are designing a tank, so we'll have to look at an infantry fighting vehicle after that's done. Okay, so there's a battle of Haderslev between Britain and the Danes. We'll take a look at what that looks like. So here we have, it's in the forest. It's off the beaten track. It's just cavalry against cavalry. But there's towns and the intensity is extreme. So we're going to imagine there will be a few casualties here as the two cavalry forces duke it out. We can wonder what would happen if the Queen's Lancers were replaced by the 1st Regiment of Mark 1 Mark 1s, but unfortunately the British didn't call them into action. Maybe the Germans will go to war and use our Mark 1 Mark 2s as soon as we get producing them. I think we can... Did I not order in those supplies from North America? We shall order more in. $106,000. Oh, it's the global map. We don't want that. We want the map of our facility. And we have 5 more days for the production of Mark 1 Mark 2. I've got a bunch of classified information. The Mark 1 Mark 2 is complete. We shall send it on trial to get rid of its faults. We will begin producing it immediately. We need to make 20 of these to fill the German contract, which we've got 57 days for delivery. So 20 of these, how long will they take? We are going to be in trouble. So what we will do is we will go to administration. Well, luckily we built room for more workers, so there's 120 available to hire. I think we will we'll take all of them. We'll hire them. Yes, and then go back to the factory and see how much time. Hopefully that'll give us time to deliver the tanks by the time we finish building them. 120 extra men should make significant impact to the production time here. And we can shortcut that. We've got 360 men, that means 32 days. That'll give us ample time to deliver them. And we have more materials coming in from North America, and we can now start to engineer the female sponson for an infantry fighting vehicle. We'll make that out of steel as well, bolted assembly. We've got the better turret doors, the better turret hatches. That'll take 5 days. And we'll take our new tank for a test drive around the track. So this is essentially the same tank as the Mark 1 Mark 1, except it's made out of steel, so it will be a bit heavier. So it should perform slightly worse, as the load on the engine will be greater. And I think if it is worse, I cannot really tell. It seems to be operating in a very similar manner to the Mark 1 Mark 1. So we've got to take this tank around the course, and I might just cut to anything interesting that comes along. This machine gun upgrade is accurate when stationary, but really not at all accurate whilst the tank is moving. It'll be a fair time until weapon stabilizers are invented, I think. And are we going to get up here without much of a run-up? Yeah, pretty successful. This part of the course will test the agility of the tank, which it kind of handles like a beached whale at the moment. It's not the most agile tank in the world, but it was built to go through mud and trenches. So the tank is struggling a bit up some of these slopes. The extra weight does slow it down a little bit, it would appear. And with only one test track in it at the moment, and the tank's handling so similarly, it'll be interesting to see how the devs decide to make this a bit more interesting, because I can see myself in designing 5 or 6 tanks. If there's not much difference in handling, then driving around this course every time to get the deployment bonus is going to be a bit tiresome. It's not the main focal point of the game for me, although I understand the fun of driving your tanks around. You need to be able to feel the difference, I think, in how they handle. Okay, so we will finish off here with the second contract, building the tanks, and we are researching our way towards a 47mm naval gun, which should provide a high accuracy, high rate of fire gun compared to the 6-pounder, and we'll continue next episode at looking at developing the low pass running gear and developing the Whippet tank, which we have the structure for. So we might even develop the hull for that, but we've still got 5 days on our current. So I will see you next time. Let me know if you like or dislike, or how the video went for you, and let us know if you're looking forward to this game in the comments below. It really is an interesting and unique strategy game, tycoon game.